Look at that, baby. A little intro action for this week. What's up, everybody? Andrew Cooper, a.k.a. Coupe Fiasco on Twitter, and this is Coop's Fantasy Football Fiasco. We do 2 shows a week of this particular show, Monday and Friday, right? Monday, this is where we break down the important usage from this week. I go in, I look at who's getting the snaps, who's running the routes, who's pass blocking, who's getting 2-minute drill, all that information for you so that we can break down this week and start building for this, for the upcoming week, for the important stuff, trying to predict what's going to happen. Tomorrow on the show with Howard Bender, we're going to do waivers, Wednesday trades, Thursday lineups, Friday special guest Jim Coventry will come on and we'll break down the slate and do all the fun stuff. We'll do all the the DFS and the bets and all that. So thanks for joining us. We have a full slate this week, so I'm going to get right into it. We often go overtime. We try to keep this to an hour, but here we go, baby. Here we go. First off, Arizona Cardinals. And typical usage for the wide receivers. You have Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson on the outside. They play virtually the whole game. Rondale Moore plays in the slot, but he always gets a couple carries each week. So kind of evens it out a little bit. Kind of reminds me of the 2020 Carolina Panthers, where you had Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, and they were fantasy relevant on their own. And then Curtis Samuel would play fewer snaps, but he'd get carries, and that's how they all ended up being wide receiver too. So with better QB play with Kyler Murray, it could be in the mix. We're going to get Joshua Dobbs again in week 9. That's what they're telling us. But you know what? Kyler Murray is coming. He'll be here at some point. And again, this guy's a top 5 quarterback all time in points per game when he does play. So that's coming. See you guys in the chat. Albert, Chris Alves, what's happening, guys? Thanks for popping in. Thanks for joining us. Definitely throw some questions in the chat if you got them. Comments in the chat. We'll get them up on screen. We got Heather behind the glass working on all that. So should be pretty good today. The big story of this game, though, Trey McBride. Trey McBride. Zach Ertz gone. McBride came out 62 of 76 snaps, 36 of 41 routes, 14 targets, 0 pass block snaps. Trey McBride right now is dialed in. Zach Ertz, he's on IR, so he's going to miss at least 3 more weeks. When he comes back, that could mess things up for us. But we're hoping that Trey McBride is just too good right now. Can't put him back in the bottle. Hopefully, Zach Ertz ends up being a trade candidate. I know you really can't trade guys when they're hurt, but hopefully that ends up being the case so our guy Trey McBride can live and eat, because he looked good yesterday. He looked great yesterday. On the running back front, Amari DiMercato, he was the top dog again, and I need more information here. Chat, if you saw what happened injury-wise, let me know. I know Damian Williams left with an injury, right? DiMercato played most of the game until the end when he was nowhere to be found. And Keontae Ingram played pretty much all the 2-minute drill snaps. At the end of the game, he played 25 of 27 snaps, according to Nathan Yonke over at PFF. That's kind of concerning. I want to know if DiMercato got hurt or if Keontae Ingram just has that role, because if that's the case, that's going to hurt DiMercato. But it seems weird that DiMercato played all the pass snaps the week before last, but then this week he would give up the pass role to Keontae Ingram. I don't know. When I have information on that, I will tweet it. If you guys saw anything, let me know. But kind of weird usage there. But yeah, big story there, man. Trey McBride, let's go. He should not be on waivers in any of your leagues. If you were paying attention to this show, of course he wasn't on waivers, right? With Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, we're picking those guys up everywhere. Next team, we're going alphabetical order by team, and we will have the timestamps in there after. So if you only want to know about one player or whatever, you're just tuning in now and you want to skip ahead, obviously we're live right now, so you can't skip ahead unless you got some sort of time machine. But for everybody that's tuning in after, people popping in from Reddit, shout out Reddit, there's going to be timestamps, and you can jump to whatever game, see whatever player you want. For the Falcons, 68 total snaps, which is about usual. Drake London left the game with a groin injury. We mentioned this last week. We said, of the guys on this squad, most of them are pretty boring, right? Mac Hollins is trending way down. Kadar Hodge was trending way down. But they traded for Van Jefferson, and we didn't know what the ceiling could be for him because he was kind of getting used to the offense trending up. Well, with Drake London out, Van Jefferson played a full snap share. He played 48 snaps. He ran 34 routes. Nobody else ran more than 20. So if Drake London's going to miss time, it looks like Van Jefferson could be an ad. TD, Fournette to the Bills, is that legit? Is that locked in, or are you just speculating? That's pretty interesting. Heather, can you check that for us? Is that Leonard Fournette to the Bills? He told us he was going to sign with somebody, but he hadn't announced it. So that'd be pretty cool. The tight end split here remains the same. 68 total snaps, 48 for Jonnu, 41 for Kyle Pitts. 27 routes for Pitts, 28 for Jonnu out of 43. So hard to trust either of those guys, man. I mean, obviously we have Pitts ahead just because he's a better athlete. We hope that coming off the MCL, he will get up to a new level of usage down the stretch. Maybe Taylor Heineke's even better than Ritter if they're going to keep it that way. Who knows? But interested to see where Kyle Pitts can go, but you don't have to hold him. You don't have to hold Jonnu either. If they're not going to play the whole game, hard to hold these guys. And yes, Heather has confirmed that. Toronto Dave breaking the news in the chat. Leonard Fournette to the Bills and pending a physical. So when we get to the Bills, I'll talk about what the usage is like for the players they currently have, but that's definitely going to mix things up. You definitely did not want to see that if you were holding James Cook and and Latavius Murray. So that's pretty brutal. Just to wrap up the Falcons here, Bijan Robinson played 50 of 68 snaps. Tyler Algier played only 15. But as usual, when Algier's in the game, he gets carries. Bijan only had 11 carries. Algier had 8. So that's the deal. Bijan plays pretty much all the snaps, and they mix Algier in to get a carry every once in a while. So that's the deal. Brad McCoy, shout out to the Twitch gang. Twitch glasses for the Twitch gang in the chat. Says, what's up? I am panicking as I have Justin Jefferson and Kupp on my roster. Probably trading Jettas for Amon-Ra St. Brown after tonight. Do I trade Kupp too? If you can trade an injured Justin Jefferson with Kirk Cousins hurt for Amon-Ra St. Brown, you do that immediately, and you do it yesterday, and you pray that your league mates don't veto trades because, I mean, the reality is that Amon-Ra St. Brown is good enough as is. That's not even a crazy trade if Justin Jefferson wasn't hurt. If Justin Jefferson was healthy, and we know Kirk Cousins is out for the year now, that's not even a crazy trade. And Justin Jefferson is not healthy. He's, has to miss a minimum of a few games. We don't know what he's going to look like when he's back, man. So, yeah, do that trade immediately. Cooper Kupp, I'm holding on to. We'll have to see what happens with Stafford with the thumb situation. We'll get to that soon. But, yeah, be real careful with that. Baltimore Ravens, next team, alphabetical order. Zay Flowers this has been consistent pretty much the whole year. He's the only guy that plays all the snaps. He ran 30 routes of 32. Next closest was Odell with 21, Rashad Bateman with 20. That's just not enough to trust, man. Nelson Aguilar's on the back burner now, but we'd love to see Aguilar go away and just have those guys be the top 3 dudes like we thought it was going to be. Until that happens, can't really trust these guys, man. Mark Andrews is a guy you definitely can't trust. 29 of 32 routes. Obviously scored a touchdown again. So Mark Andrews, he's a tight end too. And if that wasn't clear already, TJ Hawkinson just lost his quarterback. Darren Waller's dealing with an injury. George Kittle is good when the other wide receivers are banged up. But, I mean, this is the guy. It's Mark Andrews. As we have told you guys, every Monday we've done this show, we know that Gus Edwards gets the carries. In positive game scripts, he is the play. In bad game scripts, Justice Hill plays the pass downs. Even in this one, Justice Hill ran 15 routes to 12 for Gus Edwards, but it was the Cardinals. It was a positive game script. I had Gus Edwards in my lineup in the Baby Bowl. He scored 3 touchdowns, dude. That's the way it's going to be. In tough matchups, maybe you start Justice Hill. In good matchups, it's Gus Edwards. Easy enough. Bills, 69 snaps this week. As we just heard, those that don't know, anyone trickling in just now, Leonard Fournette is now on the Bills. So let's talk about the running backs here. Basically, you had James Cook getting the bulk of the work except for goal line. Latavius Murray got all 5 snaps in the goal line situations. Now, with Leonard Fournette coming in, you're probably going to see Leonard Fournette playing pass downs. One thing we know that Fournette does well is he understands pass blocking schemes and assignments, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So this is going to be pretty ugly here. You'll probably get James Cook as a starter operating in space. You'll get Leonard Fournette on pass downs and third downs, and then you'll probably still get Latavius Murray at the goal line, unless like Fournette's going to take that over. But James Cook, the big knock on him was that he's barely 200 pounds, right? For Lenny's a big boy. Latavius Murray is obviously a monster. So goal line is probably out of the question now for James Cook, especially with Josh Allen there. So kind of rough, dude. Kind of rough situation there. Big 3-headed monster. I picked up Leonard Fournette in a couple spots. We'll have to see what his usage gets to. I'm not going to drop him yet, but I was hoping he would go somewhere that he could just be the dude right away, right? Like, I don't know if this could just be a big mix. As for the wide receivers, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, they play all the snaps all the time. We already knew that. With Dawson Knox out, So before we were doing a lot of 2 tight end sets. That meant you didn't really have a wide receiver 3. This week, Khalil Shakir goes out, plays 45 snaps of 69, runs 33 routes. So, Gabe Davis ran 45, Diggs ran 46, 33. That's more than any third wide receivers running for this team all year. So now he's a dart throw, maybe a DFS play. Hard to trust in real leagues though. And then Dalton Kincaid, 39 of 46 routes, 7 targets, scored the touchdown, got another goal line look. I mean, that game was Thursday, so we've already talked it to death, but got to be feeling pretty good about Dalton Kincaid right now. Carolina Panthers, they went out and decided they're just going to use 3 guys at wide receiver. It was Mingo, Chark, and Thielen. Terrace Marshall only played 4 snaps. So Marshall on the back burner for sure. Laviska Shenault didn't play much here. So he didn't play at all, actually. I think he might be banged up. So, I mean, those are your guys. Thielen's the guy you can really trust, and Mingo is the one that has, when healthy, he hasn't split snaps. Chark is the one you got to worry about, but no one was really starting Chark anyway. So, at tight end, useless 3-way split between Tommy Tremble and Hayden Hurst and Steven Sullivan. I don't care that Tommy Tremble scores a touchdown every once in a while. He does a little hurdle every now and again. Does not matter to me. Hayden Hurst, none of them play enough. None of these guys. I mean, there were 67 total snaps. The leader played 36. So, and Hayden Hurst ran 15 routes. Tremble ran 13. Sullivan ran 11. That's out of 40. It's kind of like the Seahawks. Too much of a split. Can't trust anybody. Miles Sanders, clearly not healthy, man. He's not healthy. And Chuba got pretty much all the work. Chuba Hubbard, 45 snaps to 12 for Sanders, 15 carries to 2. Miles Sanders, people are going to drop him, and I'm going to stash him on some benches just to see if maybe he can get healthy down the stretch. They paid him a lot of money. Week 1, he came out, had almost 100 yards from scrimmage the last time he was healthy. The week 1 game was the only time he was healthy. He looked pretty decent, but, I mean, he's been banged up. I might be catching falling knives here, but I've got a deep enough leagues where some people are going to drop this guy, and I might stash him. So I'll let you know on that. Chicago Bears, 66 snaps this week. Same as it's been pretty much all year. It's been DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney. They play the whole game. You wouldn't think it, though, because Mooney has just been invisible. Sometimes guys come off these high ankle sprain tightrope surgeries, and they're not ready to rock and roll. I think that's what's going on with Mooney here. And then Tyler Scott is the 3rd wide receiver, but they used too much fullback with like Kyrie Blasingame and Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis for him to play enough. So Tyler Scott just doesn't play enough. It's really just DJ Moore for wide receivers that you can trust here. And then tight end Cole Kmet. Last week, he had to block on 8 pass plays. We told you guys that, and it was pretty scary that with Max Crosby, you just got to hold that guy in and have him help out, right? But I believe they did get back their left tackle Braxton Jones, and this week Cole Kmet ran a lot more routes, 32 of 39 routes, got 10 targets. So Cole Kmet back on the menu now. Just know that every once in a while, this guy just disappears. It's like there's a whole group of guys that are just kind of meh. They don't really have crazy upside. The Cole Kmets, the Jake Fergusons, the Dalton Schultz. Start them if you have to. Like start them and stash Kyle Pitts. But if those are my guys, I'm still stashing another tight end, looking for upside. I'm looking for a breakout. I've been stashing, Cole Kmet, Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride. Like those guys now have much higher upside than Cole Kmet. I don't care about 10 targets in a blowout, terrible game with a quarterback that isn't going to be the quarterback for the rest of the year. So that's my thoughts on Cole Kmet. At running back here, we were very interested in what might happen with Roschon Johnson back. Here's what happened. Donta Foreman, and it was fairly predictable. Donta Foreman started, but Donta Foreman does not do well in the pass game, like at all. Last year, he ran for almost 1,000 yards, only had like 7 catches. So he actually did not play a single third down. He ran some routes in first and second, but he's not really involved in that way. Roschon Johnson is the guy that we're looking for here, where he's back now. First game back. He looked good before the injury, looked explosive. He's playing the pass downs. I think it will eventually lead to more touches for Roschon. He's the guy that I'm adding off waivers. I prefer him over Donta Foreman. Donta Foreman scored 3 touchdowns last week. That was fine, but that seemed more circumstantial than anything. So that's my thoughts on that backfield. Cincinnati Bengals, back to normal here. Trenton Irwin, back to the pine, back to the bench. He split snaps with T. Higgins because of the rib issue, but now Higgins is back. I mean, Higgins didn't play every single snap, but we're talking 42 for Higgins, 17 for Irwin. Higgins is back on the menu. And, Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd played their roles. But I think at this stage, you can get Higgins back in lineups. Irv Smith, useless. Not worried about him. Joe Mixon, we told you this week on the Friday show and the Monday show. Pretty much every show during the week last week, we said Joe Mixon is in the buy now window. And I was saying that I'm buying him now. Howard Bender said that. Even our guest, Jake Trowbridge, said that he likes Joe Mixon. And we were hoping that we could get him last week or that he might have a down week in a tough matchup this week with the 49ers. Well, he actually looks pretty good. So the window might be closed, but I would go out and try and get that guy right now. Joe Mixon is a buy. This offense is coming together, and he's a guy that plays a massive snap share for what should be a good offense. 47 snaps. I mean, 47 to 63. Not many running backs doing that. So Joe Mixon's a guy you got to be out there buying right now. Cleveland Browns. Last week, Donovan Peoples-Jones hardly played. Like his snap share went down. We thought they might phase him out. This week, he bounced back and he played a ton of snaps, yet didn't get a single target. All exercise team. This guy played 65 snaps and did not get a target. Ran 31 routes. Amari Cooper also ran 31 routes and he had 11 targets. Elijah Moore ran 33 routes, got 5. So it's Amari Cooper, it's Elijah Moore, DPJ. I don't know what what's the upside? Don't worry about DPJ. David Njoku continues his good usage, played a bunch, 7 targets, 3 pass block snaps, but that's fine. As long as it's not like 7, 8, where it's like, a third of his snaps. The number that we need to be below is 15%. For those that care about tight ends and pass blocking, 15% is where you very rarely see a top 5 tight end. I've only seen 3 tight ends finish top 5 blocking on more than 15% of their pass plays. It's George Kittle in like a crazy unicorn year where he scored like 3 touchdowns that were 70 yards or more. It was Rob Gronkowski in a year where he played 10 games and scored 11 touchdowns, then got hurt. Because he scored so many touchdowns, he was still a top 5 tight end. And then the only other one was 2013 Orange Julius Thomas. And that's because he played with Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning threw 55 touchdown passes. So it didn't matter. You could have been if you gave a shopping cart a light shove towards the end zone, Peyton Manning could have thrown a touchdown pass to that shopping cart that year. So really you need these guys to be playing, to be running more routes. Pass blocking on 15% or more is a killer. So we got to be careful with guys like Kmet. Njoku at times will do that, but this week he was pretty good. So we're good on that front. For running backs, Jerome Ford left the game briefly. He's been dealing with injuries, but he came back and played a ton in the second half. Could be annoying to sort through this, man. Like Hunt got both the goal line carries, which is weird. Ford and Strong got almost all the pass work. So Hunt got both goal line carries, but oddly, we picture Kareem Hunt to be the pass catching back. He didn't play any third downs. He didn't get any of the 2-minute drill snaps. So I don't know. This is very strange. Honestly, as much as it stinks, the injury report a lot of times is going to determine who we like and who we don't. Like if guys are banged up and who's not, then, we just need more information because it might just be a situation where they split it evenly and whoever's out there is out there for particular drives, and that would just be pretty terrible. There are teams doing that. I'm going to talk about another one coming up soon. So, yeah, be careful with – it's definitely Hunt and Ford over Pierre Strong, though, for me, even though they split the carries up pretty evenly. I think Pierre Strong, at the end of the day, is going to be the third man out, even though he's the fastest and the most fun, hypothetically, right? Yeah, I feel you guys on Donovan Peoples-Jones. Seems like a talented player. I think it's just like certain quarterbacks don't utilize yeah, I see Chris Alves in the chat saying, talented player. Certain quarterbacks just aren't good at delivering the ball to certain types of players. And for him, he's running the deeper routes. He's the field stretcher. It's not working out for him right now. What are you going to do? So, but you can't trust a guy like that. 0 targets. He played the whole game. They didn't throw it his way one time. So I don't know. Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, megastar. Brandon Cooks was mixed in. So you had 35 routes for Lamb, 28 for Cooks, 21 for Gallup. It's been back and forth between Gallup and Cooks. Hard to trust either one of them, but right now it skews Cooks. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It'd be these teams. That's why we love the teams that use the fullback, because then the third wide receiver is just out of the picture, right? Like the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Texans to some degree. Like when teams that use 3 wide receivers, this is what you get. Jake Ferguson, I said it last week. The week before last, because they were on bye, but I I said, hey, this guy had his worst game statistically, but behind the scenes, his usage was better. He ran more routes, played more snaps. So I actually moved Jake Ferguson up. And this week he played 52 snaps, which was ahead of Cooks, ahead of Gallup. CeeDee Lamb played 53, right? Guy ran 34 routes, which is pretty good. Got 4 targets, scored a touchdown. So honestly, I have Jake Ferguson up from where I had him. He's just still a fairly boring player. I don't think he's that great. Like he's not a big playmaker. And Peyton Hendershot will be back at some point, which could mix things up. But for now, a guy like Ferguson, if you got nothing else, stick him in there. Definitely with bye weeks and stuff coming up, he should be rostered. And then Tony Pollard, just got to be happy to have him. Guy that plays a ton of snaps. These backups they just mix in every once in a while. So got to be pumped if you drafted Tony Pollard. That's that. Denver Broncos, 71 snaps. Brandon Johnson to the IR, which meant Marvin Mims had a shot to play more. Again, though, didn't play. He played the most he's played, but it was 29 of 71 snaps. He played more than Lil Jordan Humphrey, more than Traquan Smith, but Sutton and Judy played a ton. And here's the deal, is that we know that Sean Payton has mentioned that it's hard to get Judy and Mims on the field at the same time. You almost need a Judy trade to get Marvin Mims a full snap share, and then they go out and beat the Chiefs this week. If they had lost to the Chiefs, maybe it could have been a situation where, okay, you know what, time to sell. Maybe they still will sell. There's still rumors that they have offers that are reasonable for Judy, and they're just trying to wait and pull the trigger. When that happens, Marvin Mims needs to be rostered in every league, and I think he probably should be speculatively added in spots where you can, just in case Judy does get traded, because that would unlock Mims to play a lot more snaps. But right now, of course, you can't start Mims. He got one target on like a screen where he just got tackled right away. So what are you going to do? Adam Trotman, I'm done talking about Adam Trotman. He's useless. Useless. We told you that. He didn't get your pass. Don't worry about him. It's Greg Dulcich or nothing there. And then running backs, Javonte Williams trending up still. And where we like Breece Hall, we should also like Javonte Williams because, 27 carries this week. 27. 3 for Jaleel McLaughlin, 1 for Samaje Perine. Gotta love that. Right now, the usage for Javonte Williams, it looks like Isaiah Pacheco, right? Isaiah Pacheco gets the bulk of the carries, and then he splits the pass work to some degree with Jerick McKinnon. That's what we have here. All the carries for Javonte, then he played 14 pass plays. Samaje Perine played 14 pass plays. We'll take that. That's a guy you can start pretty much every week. Detroit Lions, next in alphabetical order. They are playing this evening, the Sam Laporta show. Green Bay Packers, 68 total snaps. As we expected, now that Watson's back, it's Watson and Romeo Doubs on the outside, Jaden Reed in the slot. This week, though, they went heavy with the 11 personnel. So you got 40 routes for Watson, 39 for Doubs, 43 for Jaden Reed. That kind of puts Jaden Reed on the radar in the mix. I still probably not rostering him just because Watson and Doubs got more targets, and you're not going to throw this much every single week. But I don't know. It's nice that they are willing to just go 3 wide and get him out there a decent amount. Luke Musgrave played a good snap share, ran good routes. This is what we were worried about. This guy, this guy that he was running a bunch of routes early on, but now that Christian Watson's back, there's one football, so he only got 3 targets here. He's also dealing with an ankle injury. He also, has taken a couple crazy hits. Kareem Jackson was actually kicked out of the game last week on a hit where he just crushed him. Now, Hal in the chat, Josh Dobbs to the Vikings. Is that after the first one with Leonard Fournette? Now I don't know what's real and what's not in the chat. Like, is that real? Because that's what I want that to happen. But they already said that Kyler's not going to be back this week and that Dobbs is going to start this week. So why would they say that and then turn around and trade Dobbs? No, yeah. Chris Alves, I see Chris Alves saying Bridgewater. I think Dobbs could be a trade candidate, but maybe not right now. Teddy Bridgewater came to mind. Ryan Tannehill came to mind. Like, there's some veterans out there that can play, right? There's other teams that have mobile quarterbacks that aren't going to want to trade their backup, though. Like Bridgewater, with Tua in his situation, they might not want to trade him, with they have Mike White. But it's like, some of those guys, they wouldn't want to move those guys. Like, I saw people saying Tyler Huntley. With Lamar Jackson, his injury history, you don't trade Tyler Huntley, especially because he's on that restricted free agent deal. He's so affordable. there's no incentive to do that unless they were going to give you something crazy for them. So there you go. Last thing on the Packers, Aaron Jones back up to 50% snap share, working his way back. There are some rumors floating around. I know Jay Glazer said that the Green Bay could be in the market to acquire a running back, which we of all this time have wanted them to trade a running back away, like trade either Jones or AJ Dillon. If they go out and they trade for a running back, that would be bad. So I'm really hoping they don't do that. I also don't know which teams out there have all these running backs where they can trade one. Like what team has so many extra running backs that they can just give them away? There's that doesn't exist in the NFL. Almost never. I mean, maybe Dalvin Cook. Maybe they trade for Dalvin Cook. You know what I mean? But there's not really many teams that just have all these. Rashad Penny, maybe. I don't know. But keep an eye on that. That would suck for Aaron Jones when he's finally getting healthy, getting up to 50% snap share. Houston Texans, 58 snaps, no Robert Woods. So again, John Mechie with no Robert Woods doesn't really play. It was Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Noah Brown. So Mechie, he was obviously droppable in redraft, might be droppable now in Dynasty. I mean, kind of scary that with, he can't beat out Noah Brown. I don't know, man. That's kind of rough. So that's the situation. Nico Collins on the outside, and then Tank Dell and Noah Brown mixing and matching in the slot when Robert Woods is out. When Robert Woods is there, it's just a bunch of guys mixing and matching. Nico Collins always plays a full snap share, so we'll have to see when Woods gets back what it looks like with Dell. Dalton Schultz, another guy who's just kind of boring. Exactly Dalton Schultz, 22 of 27 routes. You're basically just fishing for a touchdown. Same with Jake Ferguson. Like this whole group of guys, Cole Kmet, like boring. But hey, you know what? Got to start somebody. So I guess if you need them, start Schultz, but I don't have any Dalton Schultz. Pierce and Singletary split snaps pretty much down the middle, which is kind of annoying. 12 carries for Pierce, 10 for Singletary, and then 7 routes run for Pierce, 8 for Singletary. I tweeted it earlier. Dameon Pierce, Devin Singletary, Mike Boone have combined for 1 touchdown. Andrew Beck, the fullback, has scored 2. One of them was on a kick return, but this week he got the rushing touchdown. I know it sucks. Dameon Pierce had one that was like overturned right at the goal line, and then Beck scored, which what are you going to do, man? So that's a big reason why we weren't drafting Dameon Pierce is that Bobby Slowick worked for Pro Football Focus for 3 years. He knows that Dameon Pierce isn't a great pass blocker, and Devin Singletary is. That's why Devin Singletary got 2 pass block snaps. Pierce got none. So that's where that's at. Indianapolis Colts, 71 snaps total this week. Pittman and Alec Pierce played their full snap shares. Anyone noticed on Twitter, I had Alontae Taylor, the corner for the Saints, in my mentions, like retweeting my tweet, which is funny because I tweeted, let's bet over 4.5 receptions for Josh Downs. Alontae Taylor struggled in the slot. I tweeted out his stats, right? He quote tweets that. And he's like, take your bet back, youngin. But the bet hit. Why would I take a bet that hit? 4.5 receptions was the over under. He had 7. So sorry, Alontae. But I will give Alontae this. I went and looked it up, and Alontae does play most of his snaps in the slot, but Downs only had 1 catch on Alontae. He had 3 on Pete Werner. He had another 2 on another linebacker, another one on the safety. So I will give Alontae Taylor's right about that. Downs only had 1 catch on him for a first down, 17-yard catch. The other 6 catches were on his teammates. So we hit our bet, but apologies to Alontae Taylor. Good game, buddy. Nice job. So there you go. And Downs, man, like the way he's playing right now, even though he isn't a full snap share guy, pretty dependable week to week. So especially full PPR, you got to get that guy in there. At tight end, this is where we're a situation where we're stashing Jelani Woods because none of these guys are really doing anything. Ogletree is kind of clunky. He did score the touchdown, but only on 3 targets. Mo Alley Cox is a blocker. Will Mallory in deep dynasty leagues is worth a stash because he's clearly on the pass catching side of the tree. 15 snaps, ran 14 routes. That's what we like to see for these deep dyno leagues because the scary thing is when you have a guy like Drew Sample that plays a lot, but it's all blocking, or Hunter Long or these guys. Whereas Will Mallory, like at least when he's playing, it's all pass catching. He's not going to turn into a blocking tight end. If anything, at some point, maybe he gets more snaps and turns into a pass catching tight end. For now, with Kylan Granson even wasn't doing it as a pass catching tight end. So I don't care about any of these guys. No Granson, Ogletree, Alley Cox, Will Mallory. Jelani Woods is the IR stash, and that's it. And Jelani Woods with these wide receivers, who knows if he's even going to be relevant, but he's worth throwing in there because, who knows? It's the wild card, right? Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, their split looks so. We talked about the split for um, like some of these guys that like Isaiah Pacheco and Javonte Williams, where they get all the carries and split the pass work. In this situation, it's more like Bijan and Tyler Algier, where Jonathan Taylor gets most of the pass work, runs most of the routes, and then they split the carries. So 12 carries for Taylor, 11 carries for Moss. Again, we'll take it. The pass work is the most important part of the game anyway. So, and the Browns were a bad matchup. The Saints were a bad matchup. Taylor's going to have better matchups coming up. So Taylor's a guy that you're still going to start him in a lot of spots. This week we weren't really starting him, but moving forward we're going to. Jaguars, 71 total snaps. Without Zay Jones, it's just Ridley and Kirk. Tim Jones, Jamal Agnew, don't worry about him. Not interesting. Zay Jones will be back at some point. Evan Engram, what can you say, dude? Guy's just awesome. 10 targets this week, caught all 10, plays a ton of snaps, runs a ton of routes. Evan Engram, happy to have him for sure. Top 5 tight end right now. I mean, there's arguments again with Kirk Cousins hurt and Darren Waller hurt. There's arguments that Evan Engram maybe even high, clearly top 5 or so, but I mean, it doesn't get much safer than him. And then Travis Etienne, man, 63 snaps of 71. Tank Bigsby played 6. D'Ernest Johnson played 3. This team, if Zay Jones were just out, and we wouldn't have to worry about him, then this team would be great for fantasy. It would be Ridley, Kirk, Engram, Etienne. That's it. Who cares? But Zay Jones is going to come back and mess it up a little bit. So, I mean, Tim Jones and Jamal Agnew, they didn't get a single target between them. That's nice. I like that. So, what are you going to do, man? We had the flu game for Patrick Mahomes, and it was not like the flu game for Michael Jordan. It was what it actually is supposed to look like when you have the flu, where you're just sick and you don't play well. So I don't know. You can't really judge him for that, but I mean, it was just ugly. Rashee Rice, the bright spot, he led in snaps, he had 27 routes run. He got 5 targets. He had a real ugly drop where he dropped it. They immediately pulled him out of the game, and then Justin Watson went in and caught a pass. So nightmare. Rashee Rice had his opportunity to be the big dog, but we're still waiting on it. He did get 5 targets, which led all wide receivers, though. So Rashee Rice definitely the most interesting one here. I'll tell you what, Mecole Hardman played more snaps than Kadarius Toney this week. The Toney dream for the time being is done. I'm dropping Kadarius Toney. He only played 10 snaps. Justin Watson, you can't start a guy like that. Marquez Valdes-Scantling cannot really be trusted, and Sky Moore is just kind of hanging out there. So it's really just Rashee Rice that we care about. For running backs, we already talked about the split, but it's Isaiah Pacheco gets all the run work, and he splits pass work with Jerick McKinnon. He actually usually gets a little more pass work than McKinnon, but this week, as you saw, they couldn't run as much. So, 20 routes for Pacheco, 18 for McKinnon, but Pacheco still got more carries. And then Travis Kelce was our tight end play of the week. It was supposed to be a smash spot for him, but the flu game kind of got in the way of that. I mean, the Broncos were the single worst team versus the tight end, even though Justin Simmons always picks off Patrick Mahomes. We had him going in our FFPC. Let's take a look at the FFPC lineup that Jake Trowbridge and I made. If you think you can do better, which you probably can, because we, once again, didn't really do amazing this week, then you should go to myffpc.com, use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. It's one of my favorite platforms because it works like this. No salaries, no draft, none of that stuff. You go out and you can pick any guy you want with the one rule that you can't pick 2 guys from the same team. It works just like their famous playoff challenge, where that one, you pick your team and it's got to go through the whole playoffs. That one's really cool. You definitely got to make sure you're signed up and ready to go for that. But this weekly one is a lot of fun, man. And the thing is, you got to kind of be perfect because our team was pretty good this week. I mean, pretty solid team. Heather, if you can put me on the side there, that'd be the best. When I go through our team here, man, and this is, let's see, this guy's in first. This team here is probably going to be the one that wins. So Shiva, I know Balco Ballers is in first right now, but he doesn't have anyone going tonight. So, and again, this guy started Lamar Jackson. We did too. That ended up being not a great play, right? So you got to be perfect here. We both started McCaffrey. We both started Kamara. We both started AJ Brown. We had AJ Brown down here. He started Kelsey. We started Kelsey. He had Eckler in there, which was big, right? He had Saquon. He had Tyreek Hill. He had Jamar Chase. That's That's pretty much the only difference there for us is that we had Thielen, Keenan Allen, Nico Collins was kind of got a little too cute there with Nico Collins and Josh Downs. That was on me. Those are my picks. You can really just start like megastars. And then we have Amon-Ra St. Brown going tonight, but he's got a wide receiver there. I don't see any other possibility that he's got to have Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, and there's really no chance that we win. So I guess we could try and pivot to a different wide receiver. Maybe I'll pivot to Jameis Williams just to see if maybe he has a crazy game. But now actually we probably have to because this guy's got Amon-Ra. So, but yeah, we didn't take it down this week, but we're going to get one. I mean, we're getting AJ Brown in there. We're getting stars in there. Christian McCaffrey, Kamara. The stars will align for us at some point. This week, Jim Coventry and I are going to draft a team when he comes on Friday, and we're going to take this thing down. Jim, shout out. Let's go. We're taking this one down. If you want to compete against us, which, they have different formats. There's 10-team ones where the winner gets an entry into a FFPC Fantasy Pros Challenge next year. That's like a $300 value. There's the 30-team ones we do. That's the one I like best, where, if you would just get a bunch of money. And then there's the 100-team ones. That's more like your bigger challenges on DraftKings, stuff like that. So definitely get in, check that out. Use promo code Coop at myffpc.com and get set up. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. The entry fees are $35 and $35 or $200. So if you deposit $45, they'll give you 25, and then you can have 2 plays, or go bigger and get in those $200 ones and take it down. I could use Devontae Adams. The thing is, there's a bunch of guys ahead of me in points, Hal, that have guys left. So I got to try and think outside the box here. I got to try and say, okay, who could just go out and pull a Rashid Shaheed or pull just a crazy DeAndre Hopkins 3-touchdown game. And I think that Jameson Williams as a field stretcher is what I'm going to do. That's the move. So anyway, back to your regularly scheduled programming here. That was the Chiefs. Next in alphabetical order is the Las Vegas Raiders, who, of course, are playing tonight. After that, Los Angeles Chargers. 69 snaps. Josh Palmer, clearly not healthy, left briefly with an injury, but still played more snaps than Quentin Johnson. So Quentin Johnson needs an injury to Josh Palmer to be relevant. I think that's what we're looking for, man. And Chef TB, yes, the promo code only applies to first deposit. So first-time depositors, you use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. It's only first-time depositors. I should made that clear. So thank you for pointing that out, asking that. Quinn Johnson's going to need an injury to Josh Palmer or Keenan Allen to be relevant, in my opinion. 6 targets is nice, but Palmer still played more even though he was banged up. So kind of tough to trust QJ right now. Simi Fehoko, I didn't even know he was drafted by the Cowboys. I didn't even know he was on the Chargers until he scored that touchdown last night, to be honest. But I was hoping Fehoko would convert to tight end. That would have been cool, but it doesn't really seem like that's the case. Speaking of tight end, Donald Parham and Stone Smart, they both split with no Gerald Everett. 24 routes for Parham, 20 for Smart, but Parham got all 5 targets, scored the touchdown. So, I was rooting for Smart, but right now, Parham is probably the better option. Thing is, they split. So out of 41 routes, 24 for Parham, 20 for Smart. Very difficult to pick to start one of those guys. And yeah, Hal, the injury to Parham looked bad. To Palmer did look bad. He was writhing around on the ground, holding his knee, but then he got back up and got back in the game. So what are you gonna do? It's like hard to trust Quinn Johnson if the guy is just gonna play. Austin Eckler played 46 of 69 snaps, 15 carries, 8 targets. Eckler's in your lineup every single week. I don't need to talk to you guys about Austin Eckler. He's awesome. Los Angeles Rams, 62 snaps. Stafford left with a thumb issue. So pretty ugly game in general. The pick 6 he threw was disgustingly bad. But the usage besides him was about what we expect. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell played the whole game. More targets for Kupp and Nacua because they run the shallower routes. Tutu got a couple carries, but he's a best ball player. He's a field stretcher. Tyler Higbee, throw him in the bin with all the other boring tight ends, with the Fergusons and the Schultzes. It's like, if you must, then start him, but just know that they have better pass catchers on the team. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are better pass catchers, which means Tyler Higbee's ceiling is capped to some degree. For running backs, that's the important thing to discuss. And they did a full rotation, like straight up rotation, where it was like first drive was, first drive was Darrell Henderson, second drive Royce Freeman, then Henderson, then Freeman. When one got tired during their drive, the other one went in, but like they just rotated straight up. So technically, Freeman ended up with a couple more routes run, 16 to 14. Henderson ended up with 12 carries to 9. Henderson got the targets, but pretty split down the middle. I just trust Henderson's talent better, so he's the guy I prefer, the guy that I would start if I had to start one, but you don't want to see that. We want some sort of rhyme or reason to what's going on here. Like the Ravens, for instance. We can predict that Gus Edwards is going to get the carries in a good game script. In a bad game script, Justice Hill will be out there catching passes. With this one, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Essentially, they made it down to the goal line and Royce Freeman scored. But if it was an odd numbered drive, then that would have been Darrell Henderson. I think that seems to be the case with the split. They're not saying you're the goal line guy, you're the third down guy. Seems pretty even and gross split. So I don't know, man. Pretty rough. Miami Dolphins, 77 snaps. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, apparently they're fine. The hip injury, back injury, they were torching the Patriots this week, 13 targets apiece. So those guys are fine. Cedric Wilson went back to the bench. When someone gets hurt, it is Wilson that goes and gets elevated on the outside. Braxton Berrios is just a slot guy. So even though Berrios played more snaps this week, Wilson's the guy that would leapfrog him in case of an injury. So that's the case there. Durham Smythe finally did something, but the guy has 0 touches 3 straight weeks for this week. So you're never going to start that guy. And Raheem Mostert, despite the ankle injury, led in all phases of the game. 13 carries, 24 routes run. Jeff Wilson had 5 carries, 10 routes run. If Wilson was ever going to do anything, you would think it would be this week with Mostert dealing with the ankle. So very difficult to trust Wilson. I think what we're doing now is we're just waiting for Devon Achane to get back. That's it. It's like Mostert and Achane is what it's going to be down the stretch. Hector has a question in the chat. If you can pull that up, Heather. Got offered Devonta Smith and Mark Andrews for Kincaid and Addison. Got to take this, right? I might be the biggest Dalton Kincaid fan that doesn't live in the city of Buffalo. And even then, I might even be bigger than they are. There's some Buffalo fans that notably, Dustin in the chat, don't trust Kincaid and don't love him the way I do. Even then, I would rather have Devonta Smith and Mark Andrews. Why would you? Definitely can't trade for Addison. His quarterback just tore his Achilles tendon. So Addison is in a rough spot. And Andrews is better than Kincaid. Kincaid's a rookie. Like, we still love Kincaid, but Mark Andrews is Mark Andrews. So definitely the Smith and Andrews side. I have Andrews ahead of Kincaid and Smith ahead of Addison. So I just don't see why we would do that. Unless there was an injury that I missed. Let me know. Again, I go through and I check out as much data as I can, as much information as I can, spend all morning doing it so I can give it all to you guys right now. But it's so many injuries, so many little things that happen. If there's an injury that I missed or anything I missed, definitely throw it in the chat and I'll get it up there to you guys. There's been a couple times where I missed an injury and I'm like, I don't know why this happened. Chat's like, you know what? It's because this guy got hurt. So it's huge, man. We're trying to do this together. So definitely get that information up there and we can get going on this. One more question in the chat. Should I trade Mahomes for a wide receiver and RB? I'm 5-2. I have Jared Goff, and my wide receivers are DJ, Rice, Gabe, D-Hop, and Ridley. Running backs are Hubbard, Saquon, and Aaron Jones. If it's not super flex, if it's a single QB league, I'd be willing to trade Mahomes. I'm always willing to trade quarterbacks for guys that go into my starting lineup. If you can trade for Mahomes for any player that goes in your starting lineup, I would do it and just start Jared Goff. Goff has already had his bye week too. So, not that I don't trust Mahomes. It's just that in single QB leagues, I feel like I can figure it out. Like if you can get a guy from Mahomes that goes right directly into your lineup, then do it. There you go. Fournette to the Bills, worth an ad. Yeah, we kind of talked about it. Sorry, Goff has not had his bye. It's week 9. Thank you, Heather. See, we're all a team here. I don't know why I thought they already had their bye, but they have not. So that's the Dolphins. Again, waiting for Achane to come back to see if there's another decent option there. Goff has bye week this week. So boy, make sure you have a plan for this bye week. Yeah. And yes, MRI confirmed Cousins torn torn ACL? I thought it was Achilles. The Achilles, those are usually pretty. I mean, I know the MRIs confirm them, but those are easier to identify. I mean, a lot of times they just look at it and it's, um, I mean, you're missing that part of the bag. I don't even want to talk about it, dude. But yeah, Achilles is the injury. And Mostert for me is not a buy, Chef. I'm actually kind of trying to sell Mostert just because he's been great. He scored the touchdown. He's a little banged up. He's 31 years old, and they have an incredibly efficient rookie running back coming back very soon. So Mostert's actually kind of a sell for me. I'm not going to sell for anything. I'm selling for what he's worth right now for something that I can trust a little more down the stretch. So that's how I feel about Mostert. So anyway, since we're talking about Goff, I mean, sorry, talking about Cousins and the Achilles, we're going in alphabetical order. We just talked Miami Dolphins. Next up, Minnesota Vikings. And yes, Kirk Cousins torn Achilles. Throw out your favorite fantasy wishing trade option in the chat. I want to hear it right now. We've already in the chat already today. We've seen Joshua Dobbs, right? That'd be kind of cool. I think that he's looked good, and they have Kyler coming back, so that would be kind of nice. Ryan Tannehill feels like discount Cousins, deep discount Cousins. Teddy Bridgewater's already played in the Vikings. The fans can bust out their old jerseys. That would be cool. Hey, Tom Brady coming back, all these, it's not happening, but a little speculation like that kind of stuff. What should they do? Colin Kaepernick, right? Let me hear. I want to know what you guys think in the chat. Malik Willis, full send. Yeah, dude. Malik Willis. I mean, Malik Willis played one game last year and he had to be replaced by Joshua Dobbs off the street. So I don't know if anybody really is trusting Malik Willis here. But yeah, let me know who they should trade for. Trade for Bailey Zappi, Malik Cunningham. There you go, Chef. Yeah, any one of those. Trade for Mac Jones. Oh, wow. We trade Mac Jones and just start Bailey Zappi rest of the year? I don't know, dude. I don't know. Sammy Darnold. No, they need Darnold. Trey Lance trade. Imagine the Cowboys trade for Trey Lance and then they trade Trey Lance for more than they traded away. Just kind of quick fantasy football style arbitrage. That'd be something. But anyway, the rest of the snaps went pretty much as expected for these Vikings. Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, top dogs. Brandon Powell is the third man. So Jordan Addison used to be the third man behind Jefferson and Osborne. Now he's upgraded, and now Brandon Powell's the third man. These other guys, N'Keal Harry, Tristan Jackson, they don't really play. TJ Hawkinson is a dog, but we got to know what the quarterback situation is. His usage will always be good. His usage will always Carson Wentz off the couch. Yeah. Now we're talking. That could make a little sense, dude. Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, these guys have said that they're ready. They're ready to huck it, chuck it. So Joe Flacco was firing the ball around last year on the Jets. I mean, there's some guys, Nick Foles. Wonder what Bortles is doing, Like anybody that is willing to chuck it is all I want because Kirk Cousins is so fantasy football friendly. He has no interest in running it. He's willing to throw it up for grabs. He seemingly doesn't care about interceptions or any of that. Like Cousins is great for fantasy football. If we can get anybody like that, what's Jay Cutler doing? You know what I mean? Anyone that'll just chuck it and not care. Like Flacco last year for the Jets threw 150 passes in the 3 games he played. That's what I want. I don't want some boring backup. Definitely nobody mobile, right? So that's what I'm looking for out of a quarterback if they're going to make a trade. On the flip side, maybe they decide to sell. They're 4-4. And the first guy that I would trade if I was them is Harrison Smith. I know fans hate it, but he's an older player. If you're not going to compete now, somebody will trade for him. And, the clock has been ticking for a while on that guy. I mean, he's a hard hitter, but still. But, I mean, if you're not going to compete, those are the guys you got to look at to potentially move. And then for running back, Alexander Mattison, I mean, if Cousins didn't get hurt here, the usage for all these guys was very promising. Alexander Mattison, 44 snaps of 72, only 17 for Cam Akers. He got 16 carries. Most importantly, he ran 22 routes. Akers ran 4. Ty Chandler ran 0. So Alexander Mattison got virtually all the routes, which is huge. He only got 1 target, but who cares? I mean, he's getting the work. There will be targets. So maybe the new quarterback will love throwing to the running back, whether it's Jaron Hall. They'll probably just start Sean Mannion or I think they have somebody else. I'm trying to remember who it is. They have another guy just floating around. Nick Mullins, is that who it is? Probably going to be, if that's the case, that's going to suck. Next team, New England Patriots, 53 total snaps. Kendrick Bourne scored but got hurt. So we have to monitor that. Bourne's been the best fantasy asset there. He played the most snaps. That's what we're trying to do, dude. But if he's out, it's Pop Douglas time, baby. Demario Douglas, he with Bourne getting banged up, he led in routes, 6 targets. He had the carry. I mean, we smashed his bet there. You know, we were betting over 4.5 Josh Downs, hit. We bet over 2.5 targets for Pop Douglas, hit. We bet 3.5 on Tank Dell. He got 3 targets and got 3 carries. We needed the receptions. So that one didn't hit. But I mean, throw him the ball instead of handing it to him, and we win that bet. So what are you going to do there? But we hit the Connor Hayward bet. We're kind of crushing props. I might do a prop. I might start doing a prop article. You guys be interested in that, chat? Losing a bunch of money with me? I mean, we've been kind of crushing them lately. See Eric in the chat. Coop out here killing it. We're doing our best, dude. We've been kind of crushing the prop bets lately. We'll have to see. Alante Taylor doesn't like it when we tweet about him. So we'll have to see. But yeah, we're still starting guys against Alante Taylor. Jalen Reagor, Devontae Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster. Can't trust any of those guys, man. I mean, 20 routes for Reagor, 13 for Parker, 11 for Juju. Juju scored the touchdown, but I don't care. Like, they don't play enough. And same with Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Pharaoh Brown. Hunter Henry, there were 32 routes available. 16 for Henry is half the game. Pharaoh Brown ran 3. Mike Gesicki ran 12. If you could combine them all into one tight end, you might have a reasonable tight end, but you can't. So can't trust any of those guys. And then Ramondre Stevenson got better usage than Zeke in all phases. Zeke is basically a goal line back now, which a goal line back on a bad team is, you know, best ball only situation. More carries for Mondre, more routes for Mondre. So that's what you got going on. Kayshon Boutte, Chris Alves is hurt. He was inactive. So I'm not sure if he's a healthy scratch or not, but I know he wasn't even active for the game yesterday. Hal, I just pretend to prop bet. Yeah. Well, that'd be easier if I just write an article and not bet. Nah, I always, whatever I tell you guys I'm doing something, I do it. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm putting $1,000 on Josh Downs and then not do it. That's lame. Like I don't bet that often. Like you guys know, I'm not like trying to bet every single game. On Friday, I specifically say, I think that's stupid, right? I put like, what I do, and it's what bookies don't want you to do, is they want you to do 1 million bets, little bets, and 1 million parlays, like stupid parlays, and then they just squeeze the juice out of you, right? Because every line is minus 120, minus 105. So it's not a matter of, if you place 30 bets, if you hit 15, you lost money. You need to hit like 18, 19, 20 if you place that many bets. We do what they don't want us to do, which is we place 1 or 2 or 3 bets, and we bet like $100, $200, $300 on it, and ones we truly believe in, and then we walk away, right? So we're going to do our best on that, dude. Yeah, Chris Alves, surprised to see Coop's $50 ticket on 3.5-yard bet. Well, dude, like I said, Will Mallory played 15 snaps but ran 14 routes. So 1 9-yard reception is all we needed, and we got it. So that's, you know, those are the kind of bets we do. I'm not going to bet $10 on like little things. It's $50, 1 catch. Let's go in and out. Quick adventure. So yeah, Patriots. That's pretty much it with the Patriots. New Orleans Saints, 66 snaps total. Rashid Shaheed at this point cannot go back in the bottle. And I'll tell you this: we focus on usage here. 18 snaps of 66 does not tell the story of Rashid Shaheed. They like throwing this guy bombs, man. And I'll tell you what. There was a player, his rookie year, named Tyreek Hill. And through this point in the year, he had only played, he had never played more than 35% of the snaps in any game, but he quickly became so explosive that you couldn't afford to bench him. You couldn't afford to bench him because even with that usage and never playing more than 70% of the snaps in any game on the year, he scored 12 touchdowns. He had 6 receiving touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. He returned 2 punts. He returned a kick. Like Tyreek Hill was just too magical to bench him. And with the down games, you just had to eat it because you couldn't afford to miss the up games. Rashid Shaheed is kind of becoming that guy. And last week he played like 50 snaps. This week, obviously, you know, it's hard. He goes out, returns the punt, doesn't play on first down, then comes in on third down, scores like a 50-yard touchdown. Of course, he's not going to have a huge snap total, but he ran 16 routes. Michael Thomas ran 23. Chris Olave ran 25. Rashid Shaheed is just a player that I am terrified to not have him in the lineup if I have him. So I think I'm getting him in there moving forward in a lot of situations, you know. And with the down weeks, you know what you're getting, right? You're betting on the big play, and hopefully it happens. He's the perfect best ball player. If you have him in best ball, star, because you get all the good games, none of the bad games. But yeah, Olave and Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is the complete opposite. Most consistent player there is right now. Uh, and when I say consistent, I don't mean consistently awesome. He's consistently exactly the same guy. I mean, every single game he has between 40 and 70 yards, no more, no less. Couple catches, 8, 9 targets, 7, 8, 9 targets. Like Michael Thomas is the most dialed in wide receiver 3 there is right now. Knock on wood. It's either scores a touchdown or he doesn't, but it gets, a few catches, gets, again, 50, 60 yards. Pretty consistent, man. So Michael Thomas is a good asset. And then Chris Olave is Chris Olave. You're going to start Chris Olave every time, no matter what. What are you going to do? Yeah, Chef, dollar parlays. Those are fun. I'll admit those are fun as hell to just throw in like a crazy, crazy parlay and see if it hits. Sometimes I'll make those. And in my mind, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do a dollar parlay. And then I put $25 on it. And that's why I'm just pretty good at it. And I'm not the best at it because I still fall for the trick sometimes. I still go in and do the boosted parlays, same game parlays. Like, oh, I got to do it. I still do those. You know what I mean? If you give me a promotion, I will do a parlay, but I'm not doing a parlay otherwise. I'm not doing any Wong teasers, any of that stuff. Where I don't really even bet that many games because the games are hard to bet. Props are easy to bet because we do this show. We do the deep research. We care deeply about it. So those props are easy. Props are where it's at. Prop bets for sure. Next team, New York Giants. I mean, I don't really have to talk to you guys. Well, I should talk to you guys about the tight ends. Alvin Kamara is awesome. You start him every week. Juwan Johnson came back, ran only 18 routes. Taysom Hill only ran 12. So Taysom Hill is back to being what he was before. You start him. If you have nothing else, it's a touchdown coin flip. And people are going to move him up over this week. You should be moving him down. Before he was running 40 routes with Juwan Johnson out. This week, he's running 12, 1 target. You got to move him down here, even though he scored. It's like you can't move him up because of the unpredictable parts, right? We move guys around based on what we can predict and what we can't. So be careful with Taysom Hill. New York Giants, Tyrod Taylor got hurt. We saw Tommy DeVito come in. How you doing? How's your mother? Hey, I'm walking in. We did all the jokes on Twitter. I think all the Tommy DeVito jokes are done at this point. But great name, especially for New York Giants team, right? So Tommy DeVito, but funny how that happens. Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. Daniel Jones woke up this morning and basically said, hey, my neck feeling a lot better this morning. Funny how that happens. Now he's cleared. So, and yeah, Heather, I see you in the chat 1 minute. If there's no programming after this, I'm just going to finish this up. If that's okay with you, you can jump out if you want, but I just want to make sure people get the info they need. If there is programming after this, let me know and we'll jump off. But I want to make sure that people get the information they need here. So we're going overtime and we're doing no breaks. If you want to help me out and support this show, then use promo code Coop over at myffpc.com and play a couple games. You know what I mean? Play the playoff challenge. That's how you pay me back for helping out with this show. We're doing no commercials. We're doing no breaks. We're going overtime. We get to go overtime this week. So that's what's up. Chef, where do I place prop bets? I usually do them on DraftKings, but I shop around a little bit. MGM sometimes has alternate lines that I like. Caesars sometimes has very weird lines that don't match up with everyone else's. And I don't really like FanDuel, to be honest. That's a personal thing. I've had some issues with them in the past. So FanDuel if they want to sponsor the show, then they got some apologizing to do to me about some promos and stuff like that. So FanDuel, definitely reach out to me if you want to talk about that. But DraftKings is my preferred one. I think it's just very easy to use, good UI, and it's nice. So DraftKings is the one I prefer there. Not sponsored by the show. Again, promo code Coop at myffpc.com. That's how you help me out and pay me back for going overtime here. Pay Heather back for going overtime here. Giants, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, those are the top dogs. Isaiah Hodgins was on the back burner behind Jalen Hyatt. Now this week, Hyatt was behind Hodgins. Hodgins played more snaps, probably I think what happened is when Darren Waller went down, Hodgins just got more of those like outside big man snaps, but Hyatt dropped back to 25. So very difficult to trust Jalen Hyatt, man. Very difficult to trust him. Any of these guys. I mean, this team threw for. Do they have any passing yards? I think was it 0 passing yards? I mean, it was pretty bad. They just a ridiculous game with Tommy DeVito in there. So hopefully Daniel Jones is back, but Darren Waller's banged up now. Deeper leagues, tight end premium leagues, Daniel Bellinger's got to be on your radar. He played 67 snaps this week and ran 18 routes. He got one target, but I mean, he's got to be on in those deeper leagues. You got to be thinking about, what you're going to do. So if Waller's out, maybe add Bellinger, but it's not like 7 yards passing total. Hal says 7 yards. I was looking at it earlier. I just forgot. 7. My goodness. Saquon Barkley, you can be happy about 67 of 75 snaps, 36 carries, 19 routes run. Saquon Barkley is back, baby. Top 10 rest of season. And when I say that, it doesn't even necessarily mean he's going to finish top 10. But when you're going through and you're setting your rankings and you're deciding who to start, if there's a back that is playing 67 snaps, he's ranked in your top 10. End of story. It's Saquon Barkley. Like from week to week, he might move him up a little bit, down a little bit, but nobody's getting usage like that. So Saquon Barkley's a dog. You try and go out and trade for him. Barkley, Mixon, like there probably will be brighter days, and the usage is good enough that you can at least sit there and be happy that you put him in there. They're not going to completely rug pull you. So yeah, get him in there. New York Jets, 64 snaps, big comeback, exciting stuff. Garrett Wilson looked great out there. Alan Lazard was doing a little something, he plays a lot, but on this team, you play Garrett Wilson and you play Breece Hall, and that's it. And maybe you play the Jets defense. That's the next best fantasy asset here because you're not starting Tyler Conklin. You're not starting Alan Lazard. You're not starting Malik Taylor. Michael Carter hardly played, and Dalvin Cook's probably going to get traded. So it's Breece Hall, it's Garrett Wilson, and that's it. And maybe Jets defense. So that's that. Eagles, 63 snaps. It's Brown. It's Devonta Smith. Olamide Zaccheaus still playing a little more than Julio Jones. I expect Julio to take more of that, but I don't think at any point they're just going to go full 3 wide with Julio. So Julio needs an injury to be fantasy relevant. I can't really trust Julio at all. Dallas Goedert, good usage for him. And he did it this week without screens, which, he's been leaning on screens lately, 6 over the last 2 weeks, but none this week, still got 7 targets. So Dallas Goedert, he's the kind of guy that is safe enough to start. And if Brown or Smith get hurt, now you have league-winning wheels up upside. So Dallas Goedert is definitely a guy that's very useful in fantasy football. DeAndre Swift, also very useful. Got all the work pretty much. He had 16 carries. Gainwell had 2. He also ran 23 routes to only 12 for Gainwell. So Swift in all phases is wheels up. He's the spot. So you got to be feeling good about him. Pittsburgh Steelers, 67 snaps. Kenny Pickett hurt his ribs. I mean, how big of a downgrade is Mitch Trubisky from Kenny Pickett? I don't think it's really – sorry, Steelers fans, but right now I don't think it's really that far. Kenny Pickett still obviously has upside. He's a young player, but I don't think it really changes anything that much. Like you're not – it's still kind of the same situation. Deontay Johnson, classic Deontay Johnson game, 14 targets. This is a guy that has 140-plus targets 3 years in a row. So any sort of full PPR, Deontay Johnson was a guy that you were trying to get, trying to stash, trying to start. George Pickens is more of a field stretcher. He's not a field stretcher. He's a contested catch guy. So we'll have to see the willingness of Trubisky to throw it up for grabs. Guys like Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, Mike Williams, they require that. They rely on it because they don't really get separation. Allen Robinson, who cares? Calvin Austin back on the bench with Deontay Johnson back. Interesting name here, Connor Hayward. We told you guys, we bet over 4.5 receptions. Sorry, it was 3.5 receptions. We hit that. We were starting him in DFS a little bit because he was so cheap. He didn't really do too much, but still paid for himself in DFS because he was bare minimum pricing. So Connor Hayward was fine. But yeah, 40 of 50 routes. We'll take that, dude. Connor Hayward with Freiermuth out he's a name, I don't know, like, what's the difference between Connor Hayward and, like, Dalton Schultz? Not really all that much, to be completely honest with you. And then Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, we told you in a game like this, Jaylen Warren, you can't run on the Jags, but they let up a lot of receptions to running backs, maybe the most in the league. Last year, they let up the second most in the league. I mean, they just let up, Harris and Warren combined for 10 targets. A week ago, Alvin Kamara had 14 receptions. So keep that in mind with the Jags, that pass catching backs against the Jags, we like them. It's the plotters like Derrick Henry, where he doesn't really catch passes. That's bad against the Jags because the Jags are good at stopping the run, but catching the ball, not so much. And Jack sends in the check. We talked about it earlier. Boutte is not really a thing moving forward because he didn't really play, but Pop Douglas is. Demario Douglas, we were adding him in a lot of places last week. This week, you definitely got to add him with Kendrick Bourne out. So That's what's up. Only a couple teams left, so let's wrap this puppy up. San Francisco 49ers, 59 snaps. No Trent Williams, one of their best offensive players, the best left tackle in the league, the best offensive lineman in the league, in my opinion. When he's out, they're in trouble. They have a bye week next week, so hopefully he'll be back after the bye, but not good without him in there. No Deebo Samuel means Juwan Jennings plays. Juwan Jennings played the second most snaps at wide receiver by far. It was 54 for Ayuk, 50 for Jennings, 29 for McLeod, but Jennings had 0 catches. What happens is George Kittle plays better. George Kittle, in 8 games, he basically has 4 good games and 4 terrible games. The 4 good games, he has 1 game versus the Cowboys, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. The other 3 games, they were missing Ayuk for 1 and Deebo for 2. He's played well. In the other 4 games where everyone was healthy, 6 or fewer PPR points. George Kittle for me is a guy I'm looking to sell right now, sell high after a couple really good games, because down the stretch, I think they're going to have people back. It's controversial take. Don't sell him just to sell him, but if you could sell high to get like Travis Kelce or Andrews, then I would do it. You're coming off a week where, top 2 at tight end in fantasy points, and he's top 4 on the season. I think you could sell Kittle, and then when everyone's healthy down the stretch and he's back to, only getting a couple targets and being inconsistent, which kills you in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you need to win 3 weeks in a row. You need consistency. If you could trade Kittle plus someone for Kelce or Andrews, I would absolutely do that. So keep that in mind with George Kittle. And then Christian McCaffrey played like the entire game. He's awesome. Seattle Seahawks, 57 snaps. Tyler Lockett, Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Metcalf got peppered with targets, didn't really catch too many of them. JSN operated as the third man as always. Tyler Lockett was banged up all week and then did what Tyler Lockett does. He played, and he played well. So hard to trust JSN for now until with Lockett and Metcalf healthy. So that's the way that's going to be. The tight end split here means no one matters. So don't – Noah Fant, I guess, if you had to throw a dart at someone, but who cares? The real interesting one here for this show is Zach Charbonnet took over on 3rd downs and for the 2-minute drill. He had been splitting with DJ Dallas in some of that work. He did it all this week. He actually played more snaps than Kenneth Walker. I know Walker's banged up, but if Charbonnet can carve himself out a role as the pass catching back, he ran 22 routes to 12 for Kenneth Walker. If he can do that, then there could be some value there. So Charbonnet is a guy that he's going to be a waiver ad this week for me. In leagues where I'm really hurting at running back, I'm going to throw him on some benches. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 67 snaps, Evans, Godwin, and also a lot of Trey Palmer. This one was a Thursday game, so we already talked about it a lot, but Trey Palmer played a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, led the team in routes run, oddly. So Trey Palmer's kind of a thing. And if anything happens, he's definitely a thing. If anything happens to Evans or Godwin, a trade or injury. K-Dotton, meh. He's out there for a ton of snaps, doesn't really do a whole lot. Rashad White dominated snaps again. 55 of 67. So Rashad White, still a thing. Tennessee Titans, we got to see Will Levis, man. He looked awesome. 68 total snaps. Will Levis, to me, the comp I had for him was Jay Cutler. Guy that huge arm, throws the mechanics, maybe not ideal, willing to take risks, good for fantasy football. I don't care if he throws picks. Pick 6, you get the ball right back, baby. So give me Will Levis. Not necessarily to start him, but I mean, DeAndre Hopkins had 0 touchdowns coming into this week. Then he scored 3. Chig Okonkwo looked pretty. I mean, like he was getting open. Levis was throwing the ball. Chig dropped a wide open pass that would have easily been 40, 50-yard play. Painful, man. Painful. But hopefully he gets those guys going. Treylon Burks returned, and Burks was operating ahead of Nick Westbrook-Ikine. So Burks is back on the menu. You can drop all those other guys. And then we know what the deal is with Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. When it's a good game, Henry gets going. He gets most of the carries. Tajay Spears, he gets more pass work. So even this week, 18 routes run to 14, Spears over Henry. Keep that in mind for game script. You know what I mean? Like with a rookie quarterback, you could see a lot of games that go south quickly, and you're going to see more Tajay Spears in those games. So that's something to think about there. But yeah, I think Will Levis should be the starter moving forward. Why not? Looked cool. Looked good. Trade Tannehill to the Vikings. Let's go, baby. And Chef, crazy D-Hop became the deep threat. He was burning people, man, getting behind people. And with the arm strength for this guy, you can't outrun this guy. He can throw like 7 yards, man. So got to be loving that. Commanders, 72 snaps. Curtis Samuel got hurt, and Jamison Crowder just became Curtis Samuel. 7 targets. Didn't get a carry, which Curtis Samuel usually does. But if Samuel's going to be out, Jamison Crowder's got to be on the menu here. Terry McLaurin and Dotson got their full jobs on the outside. Dotson's been heating up a little bit, so maybe if you dropped him, go try and get him back. And then Logan Thomas was good usage again. He was third in routes run behind McLaurin and Dotson. But, 9 targets. Logan Thomas, fairly consistent. He's like discount Evan Ingram. He did have the one very bad game, but for the most part, he's running a lot of routes and he's involved. And then, of course, with the running backs, we already know the deal. Brian Robinson gets the carries. In a pinch, Antonio Gibson gets the 2-minute drill. He runs more routes. So he ran 31 routes to 20 for Brian Robinson. And that's it, folks. That's the entire slate. Every team played. The only 2 teams we didn't talk about, obviously, are playing tonight, Lions, Raiders. So, yeah, that's the usage. On Wednesday, I will do the snap count article, which is going to have a lot of the information in there that you need. So, yeah, that's what's up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Heather, thanks for everything you did. And make sure you go use promo code Coop at myffpc.com. Again, first-time depositors, deposit 35 or more, they'll give you 25. So that's it for us, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck this week. We'll catch you tomorrow.